both play some music and also initiate a discussion on the subject of music. I don't know if we're going to have enough time for that because I understand that there's a class that meets here at 10 o'clock. Is that correct? Is that correct? No. So, and it's now getting on toward 9. So I think that probably I should revise my plan a little bit. It's 20 of, so we have about an hour and a quarter, roughly. So in view of the shortness of the time, I will leave the choice up to you. Since I don't know the school, and I don't know any of you, and I don't know what's customary at these sessions, I had figured roughly on dividing the 2 hours at my disposal, about roughly half and half, into music and discussion. But since we have to cut something short, should it be the music or should it be the discussion? Cut the talk and keep the music? Is that it? We may have to do both. We may have to do both. But in any case, where's that record player? Oh, it's right back here. I'm going to play for you a piece which I wrote last year, although it's rather long and I may have to cut part of it, which is a series of variations, a set of variations on a Chilean melody, which is rather well known in many countries of the world with the exception of the United States. This song is called El Pueblo Unido Jamás Será Vencido, which means in English, the people united will never be defeated. It was written by the Chilean composer Sergio Ortega approximately 4 days before the coup d'etat 3 years ago, which overthrew the democratically elected government in Chile. It was performed once at a large demonstration in Santiago before the coup, and since that time has become very well known throughout the world as the hymn of the Chilean resistance movement. This song is an excellent example of a tradition that was begun in Chile in the years of the Popular Unity government, which came to be known as La Nueva Canción Chilena, New Chilean Song. This movement was begun by a poet and singer who was very well known in Chile and throughout Latin America, whose name was Violeta Parra. She began a movement which grew out of the folk song movement, the political folk song movement in Chile, which is sometimes called Canción de Protesta, protest song, and is characterized by a number of peculiar qualities. Aside from the fact that such songs, which are very widespread, this is a very lively tradition in many Latin American countries. Aside from the fact that such songs are notable for the political content of the texts, they are also rather noteworthy for their musical characteristics, because although they are based on native folk traditions, folk musical traditions, and usually are sung, such songs are usually sung to the accompaniment of folk instruments, they also have some qualities which are borrowed from other cultures. Notably, European classical music, European classical tradition, as well as African and North American, both African classical and North American jazz improvisation. This is particularly true in the case of contemporary Cuban music, but it is also true of the music of some other Latin American countries. The song that I'm going to play for you now is performed by a Chilean group Chilean folk ensemble called Quilapayún, which is presently located in Paris. You'll note that the instruments that they use are all folk instruments. They're typically South American Andean instruments. There's one instrument called the charanga, which is actually a kind of little guitar which is made out of an armadillo shell. And there's I don't think they use it on this particular recording, but they use a kind of panpipe. These instruments contribute to the very characteristic sound of these groups. You'll notice about this song that it has although it has an obvious folk quality, it also has a very close relationship to many well-known formulas which you'll find throughout the history of Western classical music. Notably the chord structure, which is based on the circle of fifths. Could we hear the song now? By the way, it's based on the slogan, the political slogan, El pueblo unido jamás será vencido, which is very often heard in demonstrations.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Que tiene cantar que vamos a triunfar. Avanzan ya banderas de unidad y tú vendrás marchando junto a mí. Y así verás tu canto y tu bandera florecer, la luz de un rojo amanecer anuncia ya la vida que vendrá. De pie luchar, el pueblo va a triunfar, será mejor la vida que vendrá a conquistar nuestra felicidad. Y en un clamor, mil voces de combate se alzarán, dirán canción de libertad, con decisión la patria vencerá. Y ahora el pueblo que se alza en la lucha, con voz de gigante, gritando adelante, el pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. La paz que está forjando la unidad, de norte a sur se movilizará, despertarán ardiente y mineral, al bosque austral, unidos en la lucha y el trabajo irán, la patria cubrirán, su paso ya anuncia el porvenir. De pie cantar, el pueblo va a triunfar, millones ya imponen la verdad, viajeros son, ardiente batallón, sus manos van llevando la justicia y la razón. Mujer, con fuego y con valor, ya estás aquí junto al trabajador. Y ahora el pueblo que se alza en la lucha, con voz de gigante, gritando adelante, el pueblo unido jamás será vencido. 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 El pueblo unido jamás será
I hope to play for you some other examples of music of this tradition, and perhaps if we have time at the end, I'll do so. However, the main thing was to play this song because it forms the theme of the piece that I'm going to play for you. This piece was commissioned last year by the pianist Ursula Oppens in connection with the American Bicentennial. I chose this theme because, for one thing, it had a very strong impression upon me when I first heard it, and it seemed like a good occasion to use the opportunity which I had to write a piano piece to introduce this melody and ideas associated with this melody to an American audience. There are 36 variations, and the piece, as I say, is rather long. It lasts almost an hour. It should last about 50 minutes. So I will attempt to go through the... Please sit back and relax.